Name is Nancy Ferguson. I've been married 49 years, live close by in the community. I have 4 adult children, 8 grandchildren, and I lead which will become the 10th grade girls for youth group. And we also lead the welcome class on Sunday mornings. I'm on the global outreach team at church, and I'll also be in with the IF team. Baby, you're a star, shining in the dark. Let's go back to the sun. That's a wonderful question. The Lord's done many, many things in my life. I did not come from a Christian family. So growing up, I always wondered what people were doing in that big building on the corner down the street from my house. And finally a neighbor asked me to go to Bible school when I was about 7 or 8. I had never ever been in a church before. I did not know who God was. I did not know who Jesus was, but they asked me to come. And so I was going to get to go to that big church down on the corner. I was so excited. So I got to go to Bible school and back. That was back in the day when Bible school was 2 weeks. Oh, those sainted women that ran Bible school for 2 weeks. And anyway, I went and I just loved it. And I got to know Jesus for the very first time. So I'd say that was really an enormous thing that God had done for me, is just getting me in the door. Because there was no other way. I wouldn't have. My parents did not go to church. Sunday morning was for working around the house. And I joined the choir at church, and I joined the youth group. But it was amazing. In those days, I didn't hear the gospel. Church in the 50s was enlightenment. We were too smart for the gospel. We just did good works, and we were very much into that and being good people. But we didn't talk about repenting of our sins or giving our hearts to Jesus, or certainly we never talked about bringing anyone else to Jesus. I mean, we just didn't do that. And in Sunday school, we talked about current events. We didn't talk about the Bible. So that's the kind of background I came from. And I feel like, well, it was one of those huge things that God did. He led me along by myself. He led me along. I didn't have mentors or Christian people in my life. So he has done amazing things. When I was about 25, I went to a lay witness mission. And there I heard the gospel for the very first time. I heard that Jesus loved me and died on the cross for my sins. And he loved me so much that he did that. And that I could have new life in him. I thought, this is new. This is new. Been to church since I was about 8 years old. I'd never heard that.
That's crazy.
It is crazy, but it's true. And so it's like a whole world opened up. But I was a young mother at that time, and I was very, very busy with children and just, trying to build a life. And it just seemed like the Lord just led me one step at a time, led me along a pathway. And then finally, after I was about 40, I went on the walk to Emmaus, which was another tremendously life-changing 3-day retreat where you just spend 3 days with the Lord. And it was like, after that, I was like, okay, Lord, whatever you want to do with my life. I'm here, I'm ready. I really could have used a Christian woman to come alongside me. My mom, unfortunately, was not a Christian, and she complained about my husband. She complained that I didn't keep the house nice enough. She complained about my children. She was always there to complain and criticize, and that's what I remember about my mom. And I hate to say that, but I'm being honest. I wish I would have had a Christian woman to come alongside me and encourage me. And I didn't have that. And it was, again, the Lord had to lead me every step of the way, because I did not have a good Christian friend to do that. And that's something I really deeply am sad about, that I didn't. But I have to remember God had his reasons for everything. Maybe you did that just to make me stronger. Mm-hmm. And depend more on him and not depend on other people. We have to always remember, we need to be ourselves, but hopefully ourselves always has that intentional focus on God. Because sure, we're human beings, and we're not always on top of the world. And we're just human beings. We get tired, we get frustrated, we get disgusted, things don't go well, but we always have to remember that people are watching us, and we are an example. We are an example. So, not to be phony. I don't ever mean that we should be, oh, isn't everything wonderful? I'm just so happy. No, I don't mean that. Mm-hmm. It's just that we must remember that people are always looking to godly men and women as examples, and we are to be Christ. We are always to be Christ-like. Some mentor a long time ago, someone said, Christ-like, competent, and conscientious. 3 C's, and I've always remembered it. Christ-like, competent, that means we do things well. We give it 100% of our best effort. And conscientious is just, oh, I forgot. Oh, was I supposed to get together with you? Oh, I forgot about that. Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe next time. No, that's not conscientious. Conscientious is, we remember, we take care of people, we don't just, aren't negligent, we're conscientious. So I think in the church, being a God, those 3 things are very, very important to remember, to be Christ-like, competent, and conscientious. And always remember, just like when you're a mom, your kids are always watching you. Well, when you're in the church, people are watching you. People are looking to you to see, well, how will she act with this? Or when she gets disappointed or frustrated, how will she react to that? Persevere. There's one word I think people give up too easily. Give up on their marriages. They give up on their churches. They give up on their friends. They may give up on a track of ministry that God has called them to, and when they run into difficulty or things aren't going real well, oh well, forget that, I'll just move on. We need to persevere. If we believe in our husbands and our families, and this is what God has for us. God has made us to live in families and to take care of our families and our husbands, our children, to persevere. Every marriage has problems. If it doesn't, you're not human beings. You have problems, so persevere in your marriage and work your problems out. Persevere in your ministries and what God's called you to do, and don't just give up and do it a day or two and say, oh, I'm done with that. It's not fun anymore, so I'm not going to do that. I really believe that's the biggest piece of advice I could give is perseverance. And he did one thing I just have to tell you about was one of those things. I became a big sister. Have you heard of Big Brothers and Big Sisters? Have you ever heard of that?
I don't think I have.
Okay, I became a big sister. It's like when you take a child who comes from a real rough background, and it would be a little girl, and you kind of mentor her. You bring her to your house and try to give her as normal of a home as, because she doesn't come from a normal home at all. So I had 3 girls, and I got this little girl, and I brought her home with me. Well, my girls didn't like it. Who is she? Why does she have to come here? Does she have to come here again? Why? Why does she have to come here again? So it was every week we went through this struggle. But I had committed for a year, And I said I'd do it. So one Sunday she was there, and it was winter, and I took the girls ice skating. And the day before that, I had been in the grocery store in Kroger's in Columbia City. And this little man, I met this little man in the grocery store. Little old man in denim overalls and a coat and a cap, no teeth. And he looked at me, he says, "Ma'am, would you help me find the baking powder?" And I said, "Well, sure." And I led him to the baking powder and zip, I went on my way. Next aisle, "Ma'am, would you help me find the aluminum foil?" And I did. And yeah, I can do that. And then the next aisle, there he was. Next aisle, there he was. He says, "Ma'am, do you think you could help me find the cat food?" And I, well, yeah, sure. Well, here it is. Every aisle, he was there. And he smiled. He looked right at me. And he smiled. And he had one tooth. And I didn't think anything about it. I said goodbye. I went out because I was always busy. You know, I had 4 kids and I was busy. And the very next day, that's when I took the girls ice skating on the lake. And our little sister was with us. And they were arguing. My girls were arguing with her as usual and complaining. And we went to the lake, and I sat in the car so I could watch them. And there were ice fishermen out on the lake. I'm sitting there, and I was praying, and I said, "Lord, why did you do this? I'm trying to do this for you. I'm trying to do this, and why is it so hard?" And I was complaining and bitterly, and I was and so all of a sudden down the road comes this rattle-trap pickup truck. And the rattle-trap pickup truck pulls right up next to my car while I'm sitting. It's that little old man I had met in the grocery store. And he motions for me to roll down my window, and I do. And he puts his head out. He says, "You'll never catch any fish that way." And he rolled up his window and pulled away. And I was sitting there. I said, what did that mean? What did that mean? It was right after that I went into the ministry. I went into the ministry just a couple of years, I just went into the ministry after that. And I told my husband, and he said the hair stood up in the back of his neck when I told him that. He said he was an angel. I said, I think he was. I really think he was an angel.